I've gone live, Kevin.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the penultimate meeting of the Facilities and Recreation Centre for this year. The council would like to advise that this meeting will be live streamed to YouTube and will subsequently appear on the council website. Could I please ask that all mobile devices are switched off or to silent during the meeting? Thank you. Apologies.
Councillor Grayson.
We've also got apologies from Councillor Dean Ranyard as well.
Any declarations of interest?
None received, Chair.
Members' dispensation?
None given.
Public questions?
None for this evening.
Anything from planning?
Not for this evening's meeting.
Right, we'll move on to motions on notice, and we have one from Councillor Pete Malloy. If you would like to read it out, Councillor Malloy.
Thank you, Chair. The town's war memorial was unveiled to the town on the 15th of October 1922. To mark the centenary of the town's war memorial in 2022, I would like to propose that the town council organises a public church service at the town's war memorial on Saturday, the 15th of October 2022, which will be exactly 100 years to the day, to commemorate its unveiling and to pay respects to those people whose names are engraved on the war memorial. Thank you.
Do you have a seconder for that, Councillor Malloy?
I'll second that.
I'll second that. Yeah.
Thank you. Would anyone like to speak?
Through you, Chair, if no members have got questions, I've got a couple of questions I would like to ask Councillor Malloy, if possible.
Yes,
you've also,
go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds a really good idea, Councillor Malloy, and I've just got a couple of questions. What sort of numbers would you anticipate attending?
I would anticipate something in the region of around a Remembrance Sunday service.
Okay, so presumably with that in mind, you'd be looking for a road closure as well?
Yeah, I think for safety reasons more so as well.
And the use of a PA system and microphones as we normally have for Remembrance Sunday?
Yeah, that's correct. I envisage it being exactly the same.
Okay, thank you, Chair. They were my questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Colin. I've got Ian to speak.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, I believe Ian Mason's first, is he?
Yes, sorry, get mixed up with the Ian, sorry.
Is it not Councillor Foster?
Yeah, I was going to say Neil Foster's. Councillor Foster.
Councillor Foster.
Yeah, sorry, Councillor Foster.
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate my colleagues recognising the name on this one. I've got no objection to the plan. I think it's a good idea. A couple of questions I think we might want to consider. I appreciate wanting to do it exactly 100 years afterwards has a lot of sense. But I wonder if Councillor Malloy might consider doing it on the Sunday. It might be slightly less disruptive to what else is going on in the town centre at the time. It may make getting a road closure a little bit easier. It also may help from the point of view of organising the groups. People will be more inclined and more used to being there on a Sunday than they are on a Saturday. So I'm just wondering if you might want to consider that as a possibility. The other thing, and I always do raise this point, he says specifically a church service, and while I appreciate a large number of people who were involved in the families are firm churchgoers, there are any amount of other people who are on that war memorial or fought in that war who have no religious affiliations at all. So I would hope the service would be interdenominational, but also open to those people who have no church beliefs, and they will be allowed time for a period of reflection in their own minds, rather than fixed to a Church of England fixed service. I do hope that would be considered.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Ian Machin.
Thank you, Chair. I was going to ask the same question about the Sunday rather than the Saturday. So, like Councillor Foster, I'm supportive of what's been proposed. The only other question I would ask is this not something that should be left for the next council, given that it's some 18 months away? Thank you.
Councillor Geldard.
Thank you, Chair. Fully in support of the idea in principle. I would just like to see a report from officers come back following this motion to ensure that the council know what the costs involved are going to be. Obviously, this is something that hasn't been budgeted for, and whereas we can put provision in for that, we need to understand what the provision will be. Thank you, Chair.
May I just say something? Councillor Malloy, you can amend your own motion, providing your seconder agrees to that. Do you want to change the motion from Saturday to Sunday, or is there anything else you would like to do?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I understand and take on board the comments from Councillor Foster and Councillor Machin in regards to the day. In an ideal world, yeah, it would be to the exact day. However, 100 years ago, I appreciate there was less traffic and less going on, and maybe the Sunday may be more feasible to put it on. Also, when I mentioned about the church service, the reason why I mentioned that, and also I do take on board as well what Councillor Foster said about may not be non-religious there, people attending. It's just a traditional military Christian service, and that's why I mentioned I don't have an issue with any other domination being there, or atheists or anything like that. It's more about commemorating the actual war memorial and those whose names are on there, really. So yeah, I don't mind if it works better going on the Sunday, up for it. And another reason why I have brought this forward is I appreciate what Councillor Geldard has said, that it's a long way off, but also it does put something there to help budget for the next financial year when it comes to budgeting, because we know we have something in place there that's being planned. Thanks, Chair.
Can I just ask some clarification there? Councillor Malloy, are you saying you're quite happy to amend your motion to take it from the Saturday to the Sunday?
I am. I'll change it to the 16th of October.
And is your seconder, who I believe was it Councillor Hiley? Are you happy for that to happen, Councillor?
It was me.
Sorry.
Councillor McAloon.
Sorry, Councillor McAloon. Are you happy to change that?
I am, yes. Could Councillor Malloy put a time on, please? Like afternoon, morning, evening? That's all I've got to say.
I think it'd be better in the afternoon, 1 o'clock, because we've got to think about if we're having the local vicars coming from the churches and that, they'll have their normal Sunday service on in the morning. So it'd be best to tie in with those, like Father John from St. Andrews.
Once we've approved it, we can let the officers do the details out thing. Now, before I close, I think Councillor Clive Madison would like the word.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Chair, I think it's an excellent idea. As it is a year and a half away, I would just like to say, probably a lot of people don't realise this, the War Memorial is the only Grade 1 listed building we have in Spennymoor. We once tried to move this, and it was stopped a lot of years ago, but I do think we should honour this event. So I will be going along with this, what Councillor Malloy's voted on. Thank you.
I've got no one else to speak. Are we going to take a vote, or we just, do we have a consensus that the motion now will read Sunday?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Agreed.
Item 7, Jubilee Park Tree Report.
Yeah, through you, Chair. It's for information only, really, and to update members that a local developer has planning permission to build a dormer bungalow at Villiers Street. And in order to comply with the regulations, the developer is required to raise the crown on trees and clear between the new build and the tree canopy. I can confirm that I understand this work's now completed and there's been no issues whatsoever, Chair.
Thank you, Colin. I've got no one to speak, so we were just asking to note that. So can we just note that and move on, please?
Agreed.
Thank you.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Thank you. Item 8, High Whitworth Churchyard. You take that again.
Yeah, through you, Chair. It's to update members that a section of the stone boundary wall at High Whitworth Churchyard has failed and collapsed, and this was on the western side of the church and approximately 6 meters in length. The Grounds and Estates officers visited the site with the church warden on the 18th of February to inspect the wall. It's deemed that the recent weather has caused the incident and the wall is left now in a safe state, but obviously work needs to be undertaken. At this moment in time, we've commissioned a structural survey and we'll expect that survey to come back with some proposals. As part of, just for members' information as well, while it's not relevant to this report, just so members are aware, we've also commissioned that same structural engineer to undertake surveys of both churchyard walls as well, because members will recall that was part of a previous facilities and recreation meeting. So that structural engineer is looking at them. So at this moment in time, we're just waiting for the structural engineer's report coming back with the proposals which will enable us to go out and get costs.
Thank you, Colin. I've got no one down to speak. The recommendations are just a note, so we'll do that and just move on to the next item.
Okay, through you, Chair. The next item is Armed Forces Day 2021, and to advise members that this year's event is proposed not to go ahead. Members will be aware that was planned to hold the Armed Forces Day on the 19th of June. Unfortunately, due to lockdown not being lifted sufficiently in time to allow this event to go ahead, at the present time, lockdown will not be lifted sufficiently to hold this size of event until June 2021. The council could consider moving the event back 1 week. However, the Safety Advisory Group has had a conversation with Catherine, and they're talking about requiring 6 months' notice on an event with more than 500 people attending, and there's now less than 4 months left. The Safety Advisory Group also advised that there's risks associated with the planning of an event so soon to the proposed lockdown being lifted, is that they've been informed that there are cases on the rise in certain areas, and lockdown may be extended in certain areas, but hopefully not for us, I would have to say. The council could also book security rides, equipment, etc. However, if the event does not go ahead, the council could lose funding via deposits and having to pay for work undertaken in the planning of the event. By not running the event, obviously there's no cost to the council, and members are just requested to note the position.
Thank you, Colin. Just before I bring in Councillor Foster, can I just ask a question just for some clarification? We've got that figure of 500. If we, just out of interest, if we had security on the door and we were checking what was going in and out, which we've sometimes done, and we maintained that figure below 500, then would we need to give 6 months notice for a SAG if we guaranteed that it wouldn't go over 500?
I think we'd still need a SAG application in, and we'd still need approval. whether SAG would still be happy for an event to go ahead so close to the lockdown. I'm not so sure. I think it's just a little bit tight in terms of the lockdown.
Okay, I understand that. I was just wondering if we kept it below 500. Can I bring in Councillor Foster now, please?
Thank you, Chair, and can I thank the office for the report. I think it's unfortunate that, given the circumstances that we're in, I think the advice that we're given is the best advice to follow at this time. And I'm sure we're all looking forward to when we can celebrate events such as this in the way we've traditionally done. But while we can't have the event the way we've traditionally done it, there's nothing to stop us honouring this day. We can still raise the flag the way we've raised it on the town hall before, and I'm sure whoever's in the position of mayor can make an appropriate statement, and we can make sure that the people understand what we're doing and why we're doing it. And I think if all local authorities in the area are doing exactly the same, I think we'll be in step with whatever everybody else is doing, and obviously we'll have a chance to celebrate in the future and get the message over.
Thank you, Councillor Foster. Can I bring in Councillor Pete Malloy now?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, it's a shame that this can't be going ahead, especially for the situation we found ourselves in and people have been in lockdown and that. But it would be best to that this was postponed and left to the following year, because it's also the type of entertainment and activities that would be involved. You couldn't quite be able to book everyone that you'd want to get involved, and it'd be a bit of a half-hearted attempt in my opinion. And I think this is one of these events, because of the dates so close, and that it's best just leaving it for this year and thinking about next year. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Malloy. Councillor Rachel Richards, please.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I agree with my fellow councillors, and the point of maybe trying to cap the event at 500 people. I think that could be quite disrespectful to our armed forces that could want to attend, and their families and friends and things like that. And you'd be at risk of turning people away and upsetting people who have served our country. And I think that if we were to postpone this event by a couple of weeks, I think we'd be promoting something that might not yet be safe. And I think we should be promoting the health and well-being of our community and encouraging, yes, whilst lockdown restrictions should hopefully be lifted on the 21st of June, that we still keep safe and stay safe and look after ourselves for our health and for the future health of our town, and postpone, like Councillor Malloy said, to next year, and maybe even have a bigger and better event to celebrate having had to miss 2 years in a row. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Well put. Got no one else to speak. With the item is to note, we've got no recommendations. Can we just note that and move on to item 10?
Yeah, through you, Chair. The item 10 is a request to advise members of a request from Step to the Occasion to allow them to serve refreshments from the community building in Jubilee Park. In the background, members will remember that before Christmas, the council agreed to a request from Step to the Occasion to use their business in the community building in Jubilee Park free of charge for a period of 6 months. Step to the Occasion is an organisation that supports those with mental health conditions and they moved into the building in late February. Members should have also received an email today with a letter from both Emma and Tracy. So the council's now received a request from the organisation requesting them to allow them to provide light refreshments to the public, COVID restrictions permitting. The council's looked at the issue of lack of refreshments in the park on previously, and it's not been an easy solution for this. There will be no financial cost to the council other than additional utilities possibly. And then the members have proposed that they consider this request, and officers are recommending that the council does allow this request, and it gives an idea of how successful an enterprise could be going forward. I think it's important to note that they would need to register with the environmental health and food standards. Inspection would need to take place, and I would anticipate that at least one of the operators would need to be at level 2 award for food safety as well. So it's just for members' consideration.
Can I bring in Councillor Foster?
Thank you, Chair. The office has picked up on a couple of points that I was going to make about the need for the health certificates, etc. for it. And it's perfectly right that we have explored this on a number of occasions over a number of years, the possibility of placing some kind of refreshment facility within the park. And there's always been a challenge about numbers, etc., and how we do it. This could well give us a soft option, if you like, to try it and see what the level of take-up is. My only consideration is to make sure that it doesn't have a detrimental effect on any local business within the area. So I think it'll be worth monitoring how successful this project is in the course of the year, but also worth monitoring to see if it has any effect on any of the local businesses in the area. But all in all, and based on the letter that we got today, I think it's an excellent project. It's doing something that I think needs to be done in the community, and I'm more than happy to support.
Thank you, Councillor. May I bring Councillor Geldard in now, please?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'm very in support of this proposal. I think it's fantastic that we've got a mental health service charity running from our park building. It seems like a really exciting project that the girls are doing in the park there. So I wish them all the best of success, and I would move the recommendations as outlined in the report.
Thank you, Councillor. May I bring in Councillor Rachel Riches, please?
Thank you, Chair. I agree with my fellow councillors. I think it's a very good idea. Having spent a lot of time in Jubilee Park with my family, that is definitely something that has been lacking there, especially in the summer months. And I do agree with what Councillor Foster has said about maybe the impact on local businesses. I know that there are a few cafes within a short walking distance of the park, so we'd have to make sure that it wouldn't be an overlap as such. So maybe something that just does light refreshments, teas and coffees for somebody, or soft drinks, so that people don't have to travel too far to get them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Pete Malloy.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, it's as my fellow councillors have mentioned about concern for local businesses and the impact it could have on those. That's why I'm against this particular proposal of light refreshments, because there is a little coffee shop straight outside the park in Dundas Street, and I'm just concerned that it may have an impact on that business as they're trying to re-establish themselves after lockdown, and if this project isn't successful and it's short term, that has to cancelled, and it's had the effect on local businesses, then I don't think that I'll be able to support this.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Clyde Madison.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, Chair, can I ask Mr. Ranson this question? As I was going past the park 2 weeks ago, last Sunday, it was a warm sunny day, there was an ice cream van in there. Was this in officially, unofficially, or what? Because I thought we tried to sell these spaces, but there was definitely an ice cream van in the park, which I've never seen it come to council at all.
Through you, Chair, we have a contract with an ice cream provider to provide ice cream and refreshments in the park. And we've extended that contract at a previous, excuse me, at a previous council meeting. So yes, they do have an agreement to trade within the park. The other point I would just like to make to members as well is that we do have an arrangement where we're going to review these people's lease within 6 months. So it could be that what we do is, if members should elect to allow them to trade for that period of time, we could bring a report back on what sales they've had and how successful or not this project's been, should members elect to go ahead with it.
Thank you, Colin. Can I bring in Councillor Ron Hiley now, please?
Yeah, I would just like to reiterate what the council has said. I think it's an excellent idea. to allow this charitable organisation to do what they need to do in the park. And I think it's an excellent idea to provide health and mental health services within Spennymoor. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor. Can I bring in councillor Ian Mitch now, please?
I'm supportive of the proposal. Can I just ask a question of the facilities manager? When they say provide refreshments, would that be during day hours, 7 days a week? Would it be at the same time as the town show was on, if we can run the town show and things like that? Or will they be restricted from when they can open?
That's for us as the council to stipulate, but my understanding is their proposal is just to do it Monday to Friday at this moment in time. Ideally, if they could do it on a weekend as well, because obviously that's when you get families and frequenting the park with the children and that. So it'd be nice if they could do it, but to do it on a weekend, they might look at it and think, well, actually, it's not viable from a trading perspective, because they're in sort of Monday to Friday anyhow. So I can clarify for that for members, but I think it's an in principle we're looking for at this moment in time.
Thank you. Just before I ask for a second, Councillor Geldard moved the recommendation. I'd just like to say something. I think it is quite important that we somehow cover the Saturday and the Sunday, even if it was maybe dropping 2 days through the week. I mean, the Saturday and the Sunday really probably is the biggest attendee in the park, and chances are the turnover probably would be improved. But that's just my thought. I've always wanted some sort of refreshment in the park, and I've been disappointed in the past when it's turned down. But I take on board what Councillor Foster says, that we should really monitor to make sure that we don't affect any local businesses, which is often in the past what's been the concerns. Have I got a seconder now, please?
Happy to second it.
Thank you. And I think we're going to have to go to a vote because Councillor Molloy was saying he was going to vote against it. So could the admin take a vote, please?
Councillor Abley.
For.
Councillor Foster.
For.
Councillor Geldard.
For.
Councillor Harmer.
For.
Councillor Hiley.
For.
Councillor Mr. Machin.
For.
Councillor Mrs. Machin.
For.
Councillor Mr. Madison.
For.
Councillor Mrs. Madison.
For.
Councillor McAloon.
For.
Councillor Malloy.
Against.
Councillor Riches.
For.
Councillor Mrs. Thompson.
For.
Councillor Mr. Thompson. Or your chair. Councillor Lisa Thompson.
For.
Councillor Mrs. Wood.
For.
Thank you.
I think it's straightforward.
14 for and 1 against.
So the recommendations are carried. So I've got no further business for tonight. So thank you all for attending.
Thank you, Chair.